Yeah, it's recording
Marvelous.
now. Yeah, that's fine. It's letting me share the screen now. So
Well, my apologies, everyone. It just all just went dark.
okay, so is that everybody back on now? So should we get
I
started?
think we're waiting for Tim, but I think just
Right,
keep on going.
right,
Let us.
okay.
I'll let people in
As
as
they
they
come
come on.
in. Okay. Yeah, so I'll begin the talk now then, basically. So what I'm basically going to go through is my experiences and my connections to certain sacred sites and the profound experiences which I have actually experienced, which I'll go through and put details on screen for you to show you evidence of that, to prove our connection to the energy lines, the ley lines, and these sites, and how they can actually empower us and what they can actually do for us. So, trying to raise that information. And then at the end of the talk, I'll basically go through a few quick points, tips on how you can actually improve your intuition and to help empower your spiritual journey through using the natural earth energies and the ley lines that are available for us all to connect to. So that's the main process. So let's just start the okay. Yeah, so basically, what happened was as soon as I was born, within a few days old, um, I was given a diagnosis of something that I needed a life-saving operation. And if I didn't have that life-saving operation, then unfortunately I would not survive. So luckily, my mother took it on a mother's intuition, decided to take me to, considering I was only a few weeks old, on holiday to a place in Poland. And if we look at the screen here now, to this healing place, it's based in Poland because my parents are both Polish. I was born in the UK, but they decided to drive to Poland to this particular healing place because it's renowned for its miraculous healing. It's the Polish equivalent of the Lourdes in France, which has got lots of miraculous stories of healings that took place. So what happened was my mother somehow knew, call it maternal instinct, to take me to this place to have healing so I wouldn't require the operation. I would be healed. So she took me to this place called Jasna Góra in Częstochowa in Poland. And a brief translation of Jasna Góra is a luminous mount because it's got a famous painting of the Black Madonna, which is known for its miraculous healings. So when I was just a few weeks old, my mother presented me with a heartfelt intention to this famous painting for me to be cured, and gave the sacrifice of giving her jewelry that she had, the gold, as a sacrifice to the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, in order for me to have the healing. And then as soon as we came back, went to the doctors were absolutely didn't know what happened, and they said to my mother that they can't explain in any medical terms what has actually happened. That no operation was required. All the because there was a lot of swelling that needed to go down, which was needed the operation. All that swelling completely went down, and they said there was no need for an operation. It's going to be perfectly fine, and they can't put it down to any medical reason or scientific reason other than a miracle that happened, which is what can be used in the medical terms on it. So that was my first experience of earth energies and the ley lines. So if we go to the next screen, this is a Google Earth image of the exact place. And as you can see, it's got a formation of a star. So my research has led me into looking at all the geology, geomancy, the earth energies of this place, because I wanted to find the answers of how I received that miraculous healing. And I found the answers through my own extensive research and connection with management, because starforts are renowned to be places of high energy, earth energies, because of the geometric formations and the materials used in the construction of the buildings. Just go the other way. Apologies, I'm not sure what's happening here. So it's just come up. I'm just going back in from the start.
I think, I don't know, it's not Friday the 13th, but it feels like that, hey?
Yeah, technology is just running a bit.
Running wild.
There you go. There you go. So exactly 10 years after my miraculous healing, we did, as a family, we decided to go to Poland to visit relatives. And I made it my intention to visit this particular site where I got my miraculous healing to give gratitude to the, the Virgin Mary, Magdalene from that painting, gratitude for the healing. And then what actually happened was I set my intention to find the answers for it. And then this particular photo was taken from the top of the tower of the monastery. And as you can see, there's a energy line running through it, but a lot of people would say that's to do with the lens flare of the camera and things like that. It was taken in 1988, so we had no digital cameras on there. But what this actually does for me, if it's a lens flare or not, it gives me a good indication of how the energy, which I'd like to share with you, works on this particular site from my own research that I've carried out. So as you can see, if we take this as being a line of energy being drawn into the place, at this point here, there's an old power station. So there's a chimney which produces the power for the whole town, which has now been, it's not an actual power station now, it's been left derelict for over 20 years, I believe, or something like that. But this shows, coincidentally, that how the energy is brought in. So I'd like to share with you about the electrical earth, the circuit earth, and how that's connected. So basically, one of the main patterns in existence to everything is a toroidal field or a torus field. Because I think Paul, one of the other speakers in, I think it was December, went through about the toroidal field relating to the beacon trees. And it's exactly the same thing with, from my own research, with these sacred sites, these nodes, these megaliths, which are strategically planted on these sacred sites because of the energy that the area has. Because every single thing is governed by a toroidal field in existence. The human body has got its own torus field. Even a car's got its torus field. Structures, buildings, they've all got their torus field. And how these sites are connected to the earth is basically they're very similar to an electrical circuit, as you would find within the circuit board of a computer, for example, or any electrical equipment. So what we can see here is when we showed a previous photo with the showing the energy being drawn down into that chimney of power station to the center point, which is where the monastery was, because it goes in one direction as a ley line running from the center point of the monastery going down to where the power station is. So connecting it to an electrical circuit board, you've got the anodes in an electrical circuit board. So we can see that the point of entry, the gate of entry for energy in this particular instance would be the chimney, where you saw that beam of light or the lens flare going in. You can see that energy being, and surprisingly, it's a power station. So it's naturally producing energy. So that can be seen as an anode, as you would see in a typical circuit board. An anode is an entry point, and then you've got a cathode, which is what a lot of the cathedrals which are built are named after. The word cathedral comes from the word cathode, which is an output of energy in an electrical circuit. So basically, you've got the anode, which is the entry point of an electrical circuit, and then you've got the cathode, which is an exit point or another gate of the electrical circuit. So this is a great example of how the torus field governs pretty much everything in existence and how the energy travels from one site to another site using toroidal fields, the energy lines, and how it operates so they can communicate with each other regardless of the distance that they are from each other. And these energies are the natural power lines, which have got these tremendous healing energies. And then just going back to, this was in 2016, we had an incredible experience as a family at this particular place in Wales. Now, this is Powys Castle in Wales, and Wales is renowned for the concentration of energy lines, or sometimes called dragon lines. And the national symbol for Wales, those who do not know, is a dragon, because of the dragon lines. And this particular site in Wales is a huge energy source, is a huge power point, because there's a congregation of energy lines running at this point where this castle is, as well as being a major fault line under the ground, which produces phenomena. And I've managed to capture some of the most phenomenal experiences as a family. It was like a message, divine connection from source, as the experiences that we've had. Because this place is also, it's got its own microclimate, because basically there's a vortex on there, and even the gardens are renowned for having the species of plant and trees that aren't native to the UK, that are only relevant to the Mediterranean or place like that, because of the intense power and why this particular castle was built in this place. So just going on to the geometry of this area, some of you may see that there's a terrace at the front here, and it's shaped in the shape of a pyramid, in a step pyramid formation, which has a significant importance. And what actually happened to us is just bring your attention to this point here where these people are standing, which I'll show you on the next slide. This point is at the right angle at 90 degrees to where the 90 degrees of the actual castle is. And then the opposite direction where it's looking from, it's exactly 90 degrees east. And the next slide, I'm going to show you the phenomenal experience that we've had at this point here. So basically, as a family on a holiday, obviously we went for this during the summer recess break in the UK. And this is my youngest son, who was 4 years old at the time. As soon as we went up on this terrace, he said to me, and everybody else could hear, said, "Look, Dad, I can see a giant fuchsia in the sky." We couldn't see anything at all in the sky on it. We assumed he was talking about a plant that was in the lower tiers of the garden on here. Until we got back to the hotel accommodation, we looked at this photo, and to our surprise, we saw, if you look at the top corner here, what resembles a fuchsia flower. So you can see a shadow of the flower and then a manifested flower of the fuchsia in this direction. And what's so unusual about this point is he said to us at that time that he saw this giant fuchsia. And when we showed him this photo, he said that's the fuchsia he saw that was in the sky that we could not see. So he had that connection to the energy to be able to see that, whereas we couldn't see it through the naked eye. So if we just zoom in on this picture, some people have actually noticed on this picture that they can also see what looks like a face in the sky in the clouds. So I'm not sure how good your eyesight is, but some people say there's actually a face that they can see above this chalice, above this cup, where you got the eyes, the nose, the hairline, and the chin. And at this point, this is where the ley line actually runs through, the essential ley line that runs through this area. And at the top of the hill where the trees are there, there's a communication tower. And then in the valley, there's a church with a spire called Trinity Church, the Holy Trinity. And then you've got this point here where this photo was taken, where there was the exact right angle of that point. And what happens is, because you've got the ley line running through here in this direction, and then there's a fault line directly below where we are. One of the things that's quite common is for plasma to appear through the ley line and through the fault line. And people are reported to see certain phenomena from that plasma, such as UFOs, orbs, or other kind of phenomena on here. So this is a great example that we actually saw of this phenomena that the youngest son, who was 4 years old at the time, could actually see with the naked eye. But then it actually got even more bizarre, because as soon as we stepped down from this terrace and walked all the way down to the garden in this area here, there was something that was even more phenomenal that actually occurred. Because we were all standing in this particular area here. So as myself, my wife, and 2 sons, and my wife's sister, who was on holiday with us at this time, we stood in this area where this point is here by the red line, and then suddenly the youngest son just disappeared. We could not see him. He was standing right by his auntie, by his auntie. We could see he was standing. We all kept our eye on him. He just completely vanished. We did not know where he went. We started calling his name out to see where he was. We couldn't see where he was. Completely vanished. And he was found by the pond, sitting by himself on this bench under an oak tree. And even to today, we have not worked out exactly what happened on how he disappeared so quickly, because it was literally in a split second where he completely disappeared. He didn't answer when we were calling his name, which is completely out of character, and he would not normally run off by himself or do anything like that. And there was nobody else present within the proximity of where we were. So on my research, I've actually checked the point where we last saw him to the area where he was, and there's a straight path running in this direction, which was exactly 300 feet from the point where we last saw him to where this path turns, which is, again, 300 feet, which is 90 meters. So what's bizarre is it's a straight path here. There's no obstructions. We would have seen, if he was to walk by himself, or rational explanation, see him walking in that direction, because it's perfectly clear. We couldn't see anything at all. But then the eldest son, he had a sibling intuition, and he knew where exactly he was. He went down this route, saw him sitting on that bench, and then called to us to say that he's actually found him. So we went over. He was just sitting on that bench in a kind of like meditative state, under there, completely peaceful, completely calm. He didn't know how he got there or anything like that. He just said he was sitting under the tree, looking at the pond, and there was no rational explanation for that. So we did not know what happened. And then 12 months after this has happened, that's when I received my spiritual awakening. So I see this as being a divine intervention. What happened on there is, beyond words, and it was leading me onto what was going to happen coming up in the next 12 months, which is what I'll try to explain now. And then just going up to the toroidal field, it's the same thing as we've seen before on the previous picture regarding the Yasnagura, where I had more miraculous healing, where you got the main central point, the main node, the secondary node, which all connect to the electromagnetic grid of the Earth. But what is quite surprising is that there's a church where it's connected to, and that's called Holy Trinity. So if we go back to the previous slide, for the people who are familiar with symbology and the cup and the chalice, this represents the Holy Trinity, the Holy Grail, or sometimes referred to as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it's quite coincidence to say that this represents the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, where on this picture, I was standing here behind where my son is, taking a picture. So I was a father, you got the Son here, and then what some people would say, there's an image of a figure in the sky, which some people would say represents God or some kind of divine sign on there. So you've got the Holy Trinity, and then you've got the church, which is in this direction here, which happens to be called Holy Trinity. And for those of you who like to find out more information about ley lines, which you may not be aware of, if we look at the name of the actual church, of where the church is, it's situated in a village called Leighton. And as my research indicates, as well as the research on ley lines from other people who have studied ley lines, is that anything with the word ley or lee, or anything with the word ley, as in the ley line, refers to a ley line. So whenever you see a village or a town with the word lee or ley in it, the chances are there's a ley line within close proximity to that place. And then with Leighton, there's another reason, because the word ton, is originated from the Welsh word meaning lea or leyland. So it's a land on the ley. So whenever you try to search for ley lines, if you see a town or a village with the last three letters being TON, the chances are there will be a ley line in that area, because that's what they used to identify the ley lines in the olden days on there, without people being consciously aware of that. So if you like to find ley lines, that is usually a sign that there would be a ley line nearby. And then our connection to the Earth grid is because our body has got its own toroidal field or torus field, as you can see from here. And that is governed by the heart, the center heart. That governs our energy field. So the more you work with a heart, and then the heart energy, and then the frequency of love, the stronger our energy field is. And that brings to us all the manifestations for love, and it protects us from all the negativity that we're doing from it. So basically what society wants us to do is just connected to the mind and body. They don't want us to be connected to the love frequency, because that can be empowering for us. So that's why they tend to dumb us down through the propaganda, the fear that they put in on the news all the time, in the newspapers, because they don't want the heart, people to connect to the heart, because they realize that's where the power of the individuals lie. So simply by working on your own energy, raising your energy, so you're operating from that heart center, that's where the self-empowerment comes from. And then that brings me onto this next session, because when we were on holiday that time, the eldest son was going to be starting starting the last year in the primary school. And a year before, he was given a great incentive that if he continued doing the good work that he was doing, because he's achieved incredible results, stuff that no other child, pupil in the school has ever achieved. He was teaching kids when he first started the school 5-6 years ahead of him how to do maths, for example, all these other areas. He had an incredible, successful career at the school because he was so intelligent. He was offered the year before, if he carries on in the final year, he'll be given this award, this cup, this trophy, if he continued what he was actually doing at school and progressing with the work that he was actually doing. Then as soon as he started this school, that was after family holiday, the first time he started it, went back to the school said to him that the cup has actually gone missing and I won't be replacing the cup. So he lost that incentive on it. And he had his heart set on winning that cup. Every morning he was going into the school, looking at that cup, setting him the intention, knowing that he would win that cup, because of the effort that he was actually putting in. So, the child was, the eldest son was completely heartbroken, as you can imagine. And as parents, we weren't very happy. So we connected to the school and said, look, our child is heartbroken. He had his heart set on it. So we arranged to go for a meeting in the school and say, what's happening in here? Why is the cup? Well, so they said the cup's gone missing, and they won't be replacing the cup due to funding issues, that they won't be able to afford the cup. Considering it was a private school for autism, and it was costing £50,000 a year for him to be in placement at that school, there was no funding available. So we said to the school, well, if that's the only reason, you can't fund the cup on there, we've got the solution for you. We will go and buy a cup for the school, donate it to the school, so you can present that cup to him so that he can actually receive, get that award that he was promised. As soon as we mentioned that, the head teacher his energy completely changed, and he said to us that no, there will be no cup. He will not be given a cup, and that's it. And we said, well, you told me the only reason you weren't giving him that cup was because it went missing and you haven't got the funding to do it. So, why isn't he being given the cup on it? And then it completely shattered him, because he knew he weren't going to get that. And things just went downhill from there in his behavior, completely heartbroken. So then 2 months after that, as any parent will do, want to make sure that their child is, to relieve the heartbreak, have to do something. The school weren't willing to do anything. So I took it on my own initiative to take my son away on holiday to something that he loved, to raise his energy level up. And he had a fascination with skyscrapers, because he was into the geometry, how they were constructed, and he felt connected to the energies of these buildings, of skyscrapers. So my intuition, sitting in a family home where the ley line is passing through, I had the download to say that take your eldest son to Dubai so he can see the world's tallest skyscraper. So we took it on ourselves to just book the trip for him. He was so excited because he loved being in it. The schools were advising us, do not take him on holiday, considering it was during half term that we booked it, because if he has a meltdown, you go to a foreign country, you don't know what the repercussions could be, if he has a meltdown or something like that. We said, no, look, the school has broken his heart. We are doing what we can as loving parents to fix that broken heart, do something that he wants. So I took him myself to Dubai to see these incredible skyscrapers. And then on a one-day trip, we had a phenomenal experience at this place in Abu Dhabi, which is about 70 miles away from Dubai. And this used to be a palatial place where the sheikhs or the kings of the UAE were situated. But then it was transformed into a world's first 6-star hotel, £16,000 a night rooms to stay in this hotel. Absolutely incredible. And as you can see, the geometric shapes of this area here. And then experience that we had directly in front of the hotel. Once we finished touring the hotel, it was a day tour with a group of about 6 other people that we organised to go to this particular place. We were standing here with the rest of the group. My eldest son was 20 feet away in this direction. So basically, everybody was standing here. He was standing there. I knew that he was standing there. And then suddenly, he disappeared completely. I thought, where's the eldest son gone? He couldn't have gone anywhere because there was nobody else around. It was an empty space. He completely disappeared. As soon as I thought that to myself, the tour guide came up to me and said, look, where's your son? As he can't see him. So I didn't know what to say to him. I just said, oh, he's just taking photos of the skyscrapers. I couldn't see him. I could not see him for about 5 minutes. He completely vanished. And then, because he was 20 feet away from us, he came up to me and said, look, I took these 3 pictures of these skyscrapers. in the, looking over the skyscrapers. So I said to him, "Oh, where did you go?" Because both the tour guide and myself couldn't see where you were. And he said he was just standing in this direction here, 20 foot away, at this point where these two skyscrapers cross, because there's an energy line running through here. He was standing there all this time, and we could not see him. So then that led me into realizing, well, what's actually happened on there was, through my experience now, was this particular ley line. He was in that high vibrational state because he loves skyscrapers, being in that area. He was in a higher frequency, connected. His own personal energy was vibrating to a similar frequency of the actual energy line on here. So basically, even though he was there physically, we couldn't see him because he was blended into that frequency that was beyond what we could actually see through the electromagnetic spectrum, light spectrum, because we can only see 0.03% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So from my research, extensive research, it's been proven that that was the reason why we could not see him and why he disappeared on it. And then through my own research, I came across this book, The Spine of Albion, by Gary Biltcliffe and Caroline Hoare, to find out more about ley lines at that particular time. And I took it on my initiative to, for some reason, to contact the author of this book once I've ordered it and ask him, because in the town that we live at, the Bolinas line, which is the main line that runs what this book is about, actually passes through the town that we live at. It doesn't actually come into the town, but it passes past the town. I contacted Gary Biltcliffe on there to ask him if he's had any experiences in our local town. And he came back to me and said, in the local church, which is a landmark where we are, he went round this church with his wife, and his wife disappeared in this church because there was a array, there's 5 different ley lines all crisscrossing at a central point in this church, where his wife Caroline completely vanished for 15 minutes, where he couldn't see her. And then when he did see her, she just said that she was just walking around in the open space, completely there. He couldn't see it. So he explained to me that these high energy places produce this phenomena that we actually experience. And then that's what led me into all this work into the ley lines that I actually do now. So I think we're running out of time now. So I'll quickly go on how I work now. How I operate with my clients is basically on these 3 pillars. I look at the environment and the home. So house healing is a major part of that with my clients. Look at the self, at the individual person, the energy of the person, because that determines the life experience of what they're experiencing. By focusing on these 3 areas, in particular, the central pillar, the self, that's where the transformation happens. And unless you look at any of these 3 areas, and especially yourself and your personal energy, you will not get the results on it. So that's one of the ways I actually work now. And this is just the main symbol of the tree of life. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, the Kabbalah tree of life. This is basically like a blueprint of all creation, and all temples, sacred sites are built around this template, as well as the human body. It's all based on this tree of life template. Because if you look at these points on here, these are nodes, main nodes. So you've got the nodes, such as megalithic structures, castles, temples in the landscape. And then these lines connecting the nodes, which are the equivalent of the ley lines. And the body has exactly the same structure that it's made up of, because you get the expression that the body is the temple, because it's based upon this particular plan. And then we can see this exact plan raising with the human body with all the chakras. So that confirms that we have that connection with the earth energies. We're all at one. And as soon as we raise our vibration to match the positive vibrations of the energy, we can make transformation in all our lives, as well as our spiritual development. Okay, so I think we're running out of time now. So has anybody got any questions at this stage? And then I'll quickly just go over a few points on how you can actually improve in your house healing.
I've got lots of questions, but we can leave those to the end. We normally go, we can work past 8 o'clock as well, so don't feel time pressured. So if you want to finish your presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions, if that works for you.
Yeah, okay. So what I'd like to do is basically is what's helped me along my journey. One of the greatest tools that I found to me was dowsing. So basically, as a dowser, which a lot of you are, the greatest tool you can have to help your intuition and your spiritual level is your dowsing. So whether you use a pendulum or you use dowsing rods, whichever preference you are, the more you dowse, the more you're in touch with your intuition, you're more connected to source, to management upstairs. So the more dowsing you do, so I would encourage you to do as much dowsing as you can in your local area. Don't wait for your next client to come up, for your house healing. Keep active with your dowsing. Connect with, the second one is to connect with nature. Go out, connect with nature, build a relationship with a tree in your area that you're connected to, because that again will help you raise your energy to that frequency of love, connection, and that singularity, that oneness that we're all connected to, and that Christ consciousness, which we all have, that we all need to connect in order to evolve and receive that kind of healing. And so one of the things that has helped me now is by going outside, even in a local area, doing dowsing for ley lines, identifying where the ley lines are, and geopathic stress, just by even going for a walk, or finding out where your local lines are, connecting with those, going for a walk, even using Google Earth to find out where the ley lines go, which parts they pass, going along some of the route of the ley line, connecting to that ley line, you will be able to find out where all these ley lines are intuitively without necessarily relying on your dowsing, because you'll be able to feel the energy of those ley lines, of those stress points. And once you start feeling those, your connection will naturally increase with the earth energies in order for you to help to develop. So that's one of the things I always recommend is, practice dowsing as much as you can, connect with nature, because simply by taking half an hour walk a day in nature every day for a year, your intuition and your psychic abilities and your clairvoyance, clairsentiments, all those five clairsentences will improve, and your abilities that you've had from previous lives will start awakening because you're connecting to that source. So that's something that I would recommend that will help you, that's helped me along my journey. So that's pretty much it. And also one of the main ones is eliminate as many toxins as you can in your life. And what do I mean by toxins? Is it's everyday products in your life that we have, from the food that we eat, which are contaminated with pesticides, just to name one of the main toxins on there. Drinking water that's complete with chlorine, fluoride, for example. Try to use pure water, detach from as many toxins from your household products, toiletries, go the more natural products that you can find out there. That's one of your best ways to improve on what you are, because that's what's helped me. And just keep, working on your own energy, raising on that heart vibration, because that's where the power is. And that's what society don't want you to do, is work on that heart chakra. That's why all the toxins in the environment are designed to affect the gut area, which is the referred to as the second brain. Because if there's a disruption in the energy in the gut area, you're very unlikely to get the heart chakra and the heart frequency raised high enough in order to be self-empowered. So by detaching from as many toxins as you can in your life, that will help the energy from the stomach, second brain, in order to help you develop spiritually in your life. So that's pretty much it then, basically. So got to leave it open to any questions.
What an amazing journey, Adam. Thank you for sharing that. I do have some questions, but I'm going to open it up to our wonderful network group to ask you any questions. Now, I'm back on my phone because the Wi-Fi dropped again, went off, so I can't see everybody. So anybody that's got a question, unmute and ask your question.
I guess that leaves. Oh, yeah, hi Marie. Yeah, fire away.
Actually, I have tons of questions, but what was the name of the book that you were holding up? And
yeah, it's the Spine of Albion. I'm not sure if you can read it if it's back to front on there, and that's by Gary Biltcliffe.
Highly recommend it. Great read.
Highly recommend it. It's quite an expensive book. It's about £24, and I think it's currently out of stock at the moment. So you can order it by going to the website, the belinus.com, which is BELINUS line.com. And I believe it's back in stock on the 24th of March. And if you're interested in ley lines, this is the book that I would highly recommend, because this is what got me started in doing on ley lines. Because it's, you know, £25, but one of the main costs of that is because there are a lot of pictures within the book, a lot of maps. So a lot of that money is to go down to the printing costs on it. And if you don't want to spend that kind of money, there is something at the moment, David Icke. I'm not sure if you're familiar with David Icke, any of you guys, who's counted as a conspiracy theorists predicting some of the things that are happening sort of 20 years ago. He's actually done a documentary, a 3-part documentary based on this book, where he actually follows the Belinus line, this line that runs through the UK. So that's something worth watching, and that's available free of charge. So if anybody wants to watch that, the best place to go is to the website called iconic.com. And that's spelt ICKONIC.com. And the name of the series is called Albion, Heart of the World. And that's available free of charge. But what happens is, on this particular website, it does require a subscription. But if you have a 7-day free trial where you don't pay anything, you can cancel it straight away. But then you can watch that series free of charge. And that's definitely worth looking at, because it will go through what things align on the ley lines. So if you want to determine what, you know, ley lines and try to feel the energies of yourself, that's certainly worth looking into, where it doesn't cost you anything. So just go onto that website, register for the free trial, and then cancel it straight away. And then for 7 days, you've got the opportunity to look at that documentary for free.
I think it's also on YouTube. I think I picked it up in 2 parts on YouTube from a couple of links. So if I can find those again, I'll pop those onto the our Facebook group.
Yep.
Marie, did you have any other questions?
Yes, but my mind is pretty blown right now. So
there was a lot of information, so I was just trying to work out how to, you know, get the information. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't included that I wanted to include, because it's just too, you know, there's a lot of information out there. And
we'll have you back then. We'll have to have you back. Was there other questions?
Thank you so much, Adam.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and Angelica. Yeah.
Yes, I'd be interested to hear what sort of improvements you see in on the autistic spectrum once you've done your work.
Yeah, if we go to the client, for example, that Tim was referring to, he referred me to one of his clients who was on the autistic spectrum. This particular client, the reason Tim got involved was because this client was on the autistic spectrum, and for 5 years he was bedridden. He could not go out the house because he was so sensitive to the energies, the techno energies, and as well as the geopathic stress energies, because there was a power station not too far from his house. So for 5 whole years, he was stuck in the house, not wanting to go outside because of the autism and connecting with people. Connecting with people. So basically, so that's why Tim got me onto the case. And as soon as I got into the case with this particular guy, my intuition led me into the best way to actually deal with it, because I've got personal experience. And this client has dealt with numerous therapists, specialists, and every single one of those could not help him. You know, they were letting him down because he wasn't doing what they were telling him to do. But I took a different approach from the autistic perspective, and that completely changed the client. So the work that I've actually done was completely outside the box, based on his own unique individual needs, based purely on the energy aspect. And he started walking, you know, now he goes 2-3 times, 8 months later, he's going out 2-3 times a day for an hour plus outside, integrating a lot more in society, simply because I've had a connection with the autistic side on it. And with my gut, with my intuition and my connection with management, that's what gives me the intuition on how to help a particular client, as well as the personal experience of autism. Because sometimes, unless you've got the personal experience in a certain area, that can be such a crucial key in someone's healing, and to go over the challenges that they have, as well as the incredible healing that I've seen from my 2 sons as well on the autistic spectrum, where they're completely, like 95%, I would say, completely autistic free, if you could actually say. I don't like saying that, but basically all the challenges, it's like they're not on the autistic spectrum anymore, simply by doing the changes to the environment, working on their own energies, empowering them themselves. The challenges can just disappear by themselves on it, if you just take the right approach outside of the box.
Right.
So they can be transformational.
Do you think your personal involvement with your kids has stopped you from helping them, or were you still able to help them through the house healing?
I was able to help them through the house healing, and as soon as I got into that house healing, it opened my eyes. I had that awakening, and that just has given me all this knowledge that I did not know I had, because it's reactivated my DNA from previous lives. I've discovered that I've been doing energy work, healing work, for the past 5 previous lives that I was actually living. Apparently, I was working, determining, you know, where churches should be built, with these energy lines on it. So it's just opened up that array of knowledge and access to that esoteric knowledge that isn't available to people unless they've been trained up onto the 33-degree masonry level. It's just having that intuitive knowledge, and that's one of the strengths of autism. Because with autism, sometimes you have a natural ability to pick up a particular subject without being taught it. And it's where you find out, where does that come from? Without being learned, where does it come from? Either comes from within you, from your DNA, or you having access to that information. And that's what I transmute, basically, from the challenges of autism to turning it into a superpower for that individual in order to get the changes. So that's how I basically work.
Well, thank you for answering my questions.
Okay. Yeah, any more questions? Yeah, go ahead, Shannon.
I was just wondering if you could provide a few examples of things that you did to change the environment as house healers, as a learning house healer. I know that we have our dowsing checklist, and sometimes we can move furniture around within somebody's home. Could you just offer just a few examples of things that you've done that have shown great changes, improvements?
Yeah, one of the greatest improvements that we've seen was, if you go to my own family in a house that's significantly affected by geopathic stress, there was a power station 50 meters away from our house, which is about 70 foot, 80 foot away from our house. And there were these power lines running from that power station directly on the back wall of the house. And where our eldest son was actually sleeping was a junction of these wires, where his head was, where the headboard was. And he happened to be sleeping in a metal frame bed. So that was creating we didn't know this at the time, was creating an electromagnetic field amplifying that disturbance, as well as an energy line, a ley line running directly through where his bed was, a fault line running through a different direction, and a small aquifer and a stream directly under his house. He was all affected on it, and that bed was amplifying, because it was metal, that electromagnetic field. We didn't know that at the time, so we thought it was something to do with the bed. So we asked the eldest son if he wanted to buy a new bed. So he said yes, and unfortunately he chose a bunk bed, which was metal framed, and that had more metal on it. As soon as he got that bed, he completely refused to go in that bed, refused to sleep. He was waking up, even before then, waking up two, three, 4 times at night. But as soon as that bunk bed was in with the extra metal, he would not sleep in that room. He had to come on with us. And then luckily my wife had the intuition at the time to just get rid of that bed, put a wooden frame bed in. So that's what she did. And within 2-3 days, he started sleeping through completely because of that simple change. And people don't realize how certain things can impact the energy on it. So you say moving furniture around on it, and also doing the cures for the energy, transmuting those energies, which is what you do within your house healing, identifying the disturbance frequencies, transmuting those, and as well as putting what I would call like diffusers of the energy. So basically, if you've got like some metal on it, use some materials such as wood, crystals, or certain plants to deactivate some of those disturbances from that you can use. But it's using your experience and intuition. That's usually the best way. So dowsing is the best way to determine some of the best causes, using dowsing charts and what's best for the particular individual.
Thank you. And on that note, I did watch a video a while back on another house healer, kind of just do an example of what he was doing. And he noted that wearing metal chains could also amplify bad energies. Is that true?
It can do, depends on what the kind of metal it is. If it's a stainless steel chain, for example, you're wearing, that can amplify it. But then if you've got like silver,
yeah,
silver can actually have the different effect, can actually repel that negative energy on it.
Okay.
So it depends on the material type on it.
Okay,
so
great.
silver
Thank
and
you.
gold usually tend to be some of the better ones to repel those energies. But anything else, your typical metals, they tend to amplify it. So
Okay.
that's correct. Yeah.
And silver gets rid of vampires,
It
which
does.
is always a good thing.
It does. So basically, if you can wear silver, that's always a great protection you can have. Because I've got a bracelet on myself with wood, with wood on there, and also silver on it as well. So that protects me from any of these EMFs as well at level. So just goes to show.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I'm just fascinated by the accounts of your children disappearing on energy lines, and it is so similar to I go down lots of rabbit holes, but David Polides and Missing 411. I don't know if you have found his body of work, but basically he's been investigating disappearances in national forests all over the world,
Yes.
but predominantly in North America. And like people disappear, and then either their body or they're still alive, kind of turn up, in the strangest of circumstances and places, far further away than they could have even have walked.
Yes.
And one of the things, one of the conditions that he, there's almost like there's a set of circumstances that, he kind of ticks the box. And one of them is some sort of either disability, so hard of hearing, or, some kind of physical limitation, but also, individuals that are neurodivergent. And so it's just very curious how you experience that, or certainly your children who, as you say, were on the spectrum, on that energy line, their physical apparatus just dematerialized, and that's fascinating.
It does, because especially people in the neurodiverse people, because especially on the autistic spectrum, if they're sensitive to the environment, they're more connected to these energy lines. They can sense them and feel them, and because they're more connected with those, that's where they experience some of these phenomena that most people would not experience and even consider that these kind of things do happen. But when you experience it yourself, and you don't really see it yourself, but you've got people who actually witness the same thing happening, it's not like your mind playing tricks. You cannot deny it, and if there's no scientific explanation, there has to be an explanation. People don't disappear. And because what happens as well is you get these Mandela effects as well. So I'm not sure, one of the main ones is like people having a set of keys or a phone. You put it down on the table, on the side table, and you've put it there and you can't see it. And then you try to look for it, you can't find it. And then a couple of hours later, it's in the exact same place where you've actually spotted it, which wasn't there before. That's something that does happen. And especially in homes, if there's an energy line running through homes, a ley line, these things do actually happen, and people do experience these phenomena. So it's important to get that checked out in people's homes.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. There are these places of high strangeness where lots of phenomena happen, and I do think it's linked to nodal points and these kind of conflagration of earth energy lines, and it does attract UFOs. It does attract other oddities that kind of happen in an area that do have these kind of links to ancient sites and these nodal points. So fascinating, and it's so cool that you had personal experiences.
Yeah, I mean, so once you have those personal experiences, it just makes them more intriguing. And then because obviously you're working from the heart, you're more connected naturally to those earth energies. Once you connect to those positive energies, those beneficial telluric energies, they connect with you, they communicate with you, and they give you the answers, which is where all my answers come from. And then once they give me the answers, I always find information to back up the answers that they give. Somehow I find that information. So it's just absolutely incredible. So like I said, I would recommend people to identify their local ley lines where they are and just go out there and connect with them, see how you feel, so you can identify where there's a ley line in person, whether it's through dowsing. And for the more dowsing that you do, you start feeling those energy lines yourself. And then it's absolutely phenomenal what you can actually find and experience by connecting with those lines. They will let you know their secrets. If you're in the right vibration or the frequency of love and light, you'll get the information that you need and the answers. And downloads that you experience, they occur in these kind of places. So it's definitely
good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Adam. Any final questions before we say our final thank yous and goodbyes? Well, that was truly inspiring. Thank you, Adam, for sharing your journey and sharing your unique insights into the work that you do. And I'm sure we'd love to have you back as well. And my assumption is that you're by virtue of doing this presentation now part of the network. So hopefully we'll get to see you on future network meetings and maybe in the Facebook group as well, which will be fantastic. So thank you for your time, thank you for sharing your expertise, and thanks to all our lovely network members for being here this evening for you this morning.
I'd like to just leave the invitation open. So I'd like to connect with each and every one of you, because I love the work that Tim and Dawn are actually doing with the network, because I see it personally myself in the next couple of years, the house healing evolving so much more people, there are billions of houses out there, more and more people are being more open to it. So getting that message out there, we're all going to need to support each other, because we're going to get that back, the amount of work's going to start coming in for the next 2 to 3 years. We're not going to be able to cope with all that work ourselves, so we're going to have to offset some of that with other people. So I'll leave the the invitation open to connect with each and every one of you so I can get to know you better, so that obviously we can share, you know, any work that we come across. If you've got a certain experience in your life or something like that, so we can refer certain clients to potentially, when we get too busy, to, you know, work with it all ourselves. So it's important for us to all connect and heal the earth.
No competition, just
Absolutely. There's no competition.
cooperation.
Like I said, there's only a handful of us, and there's literally billions of billions of homes that need healing at the moment.
I
so,
love it.
Yeah,
I love it. So you have the recording, so we'll maybe connect offline to work out how that all will work, but and so we can get that up on the, you know, on the site. But again, thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for being